Hello, good morning. So things are moving forward. I did some more stuff yesterday, and let's see if we can fire this up. 5173. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so let me first. Okay, this is going to be fun. So I did implement, let's see, to dos. So I did implement what I intended to for conversations. So let's see, conversations. Let's delete those. So I have Jill running on my other computer here, and this is me, Christian. So what I'm gonna do on my other computer is I'm gonna add a to do to check up on Christian. Now, the point is when I add this to do on the left side, nothing happens. Like this is my personal to do, right? And we can do this in reverse later. But when I open it up and then I write, how are you? And I send that message, that's going to trigger the system. So it's going to collect information from the to do itself, which has this mention of me. It's going to create a to do for me, but it's going to be from the perspective of me. So when the to do of Jill over here is check up on Christian, now I get a to do here, which is Jill Jellybean would like to check up on you. And I can click that, and then I have how are you? This is the first time I actually see this one. This is cool. And then I can, of course, write back, I am fine, thank you. I'm probably not. I'm probably not like listening to messages and stuff correctly. Yeah, I haven't checked this out yet. Yeah, nothing's happening on the other side. But that's pretty cool. So basically, wait, did this change size? Oh no, it's actually that wide. Oh, interesting. So this is really, really cool. And just to kind of go through my thinking here. So the point is that instead of having like Slack and any other messaging system, what you have is that there are certain things you want to do through your workday. And any of those things can have a conversation attached to it. So instead of having like this insane archive list of like direct messaging and these like overloaded channels, like channels and direct messaging makes sense, right? You want to talk to one person. But the point is there's a reason why you want to talk to that person at that specific moment, right? So having these to-dos and tying conversations to them creates this natural encapsulation of communication. So there aren't any like open, overwhelming channels or direct messages. Everything is tied to a specific context. And I think that's really, really powerful. By the way, I wonder if the... Oh, nice. Yeah. So I did get the message. It just doesn't have live listening, I guess. Yeah. Yes. So everything in this system is driven by these personal to-dos. And some of them, like now it just popped in here. Jill Jellybean would like to check up on you. But this is actually has an is accepted flag. So normally that wouldn't pop up immediately. You will kind of like, just like in Divergent to-dos, how you kind of move incomplete to-dos. Like I guess I can show you here. You see this? I have move incomplete to-dos. You would have like add unaccepted to-dos or something like that. So that means that you are in control of what you're seeing at all times, which is really, really important. Cool. And then you can ask like, yeah, but there's good things about channels, right? You're asking like a team of people for something. You're just saying, hey, team, like, what can someone help me with this? But the point is that also becomes like you're grabbing everyone's attention immediately, and then you start a conversation with one person, and then other people are like exposed to this at all times. And I'm not saying there aren't good things about that, but there's a very narrow window, I think, where this is useful, because the outside the window on the left side is like it's not useful to anyone else, which I think is the majority of the time. And then on the other side, it just becomes overwhelming for other people, so they won't be able to pick it up even. It's just noise in the channel. And then there's this narrow window where someone, oh, I know about this, let me jump in. But what I want to try here instead is that as a person, you can join teams. And when you want to know something, or you want to ask something of a team, you can tag them. You can tag the team and ask something. And then it's going to generate a to-do for the team that one person can pick up. So anyone can look at it, and then a person can say, okay, I'm going to answer this. Or if that person answers it, it's removed from the list of the other team members. And then if that person needs help from a team member, they can just tag them, right? Bring them into the conversation. So all of this is like, it's a very different perspective on communication. But what I realize is that we're just not respecting people's privacy. Like, this is true for everything. Like, we're so overexposed to everything that's happening, and we're not built for this. Like, our brains haven't developed to deal with this stuff, and we need to have apps and systems that respect that. And that's what I'm trying to do here. Cool. Let's do some coding. So I'm not going to go into the Teams thing. First, I'm going to figure out why the hell it doesn't actually get the message. Let's see, functions. I just reorganized a little bit here. So now we have use to do conversation. Yeah, let's see. I need to share and build. So we have this shared project now, which is shared types and utilities that's shared between functions and the app. I have to build it though, because the functions aren't able to use it unless it's built. Anyways, where are we? Yeah, this is, where's the part where, yeah, use sync query. To do conversation ID. So why aren't we getting updates? Oh, is it because it's a collection and not a query? So what I want to do is conversation messages. Oh, that should work, right? Yeah, that's a little bit weird. Why doesn't that work? Let's see. Let me just get into this. First of all, a message has created at, and we want to sort them by created at. So let's first change it into a query that honors that. Messages collection. return query messages. I can't remember how this worked. Sort by? Oh, I can't remember this stuff. Let's see. How do I use the sort by query constraint in Firebase? Oh my god, I think I have a bit too much caffeine. I'm reflecting on like caffeine and alcohol. I'm thinking like, would I have a better life without it? Like from one perspective, I definitely would. Oh, there should be an order by. Order by, of course. So the field path here is created at. And is it? Oh yeah, and then well, so created at descending. That means we get them. No, we need them to be ascending. Okay, let's see if I'm getting the messages here. Yeah, from one perspective, I would definitely feel better. But there's also this other perspective of like, it's with most in life, like any kind of treat isn't actually good for you. Oh, and I'm gonna add a placeholder here for now. Okay, I'm fine, thank you. How is the stream going? Oh, there we go. Nice. Okay, it just needs to be a query. An actual query. That's interesting, but that's fine. Cool, that's working. I want to change. Yeah, how are we going to do this? So we're going to insert like a tiny name above the bubble thing there. We're also going to, so this is going to be interesting. We're going to do a lot of like data merging here. So each of these messages only has the user UID. So we need to go and grab, and this is tricky. But okay, what are we gonna do first? First, I want to have that place. Oh my god, I'm so dizzy. Oh god damn. Ugh. Let's see. First, I would like to have like a tiny loading indication, like a placeholder thing. So I think I'm just gonna ask Claude to do this. So we have this component called to do conversation, and we have some messages, but those messages, they have a loading state. And then we have this like really cool like loading placeholder for the to-dos themselves. Could you please go and kind of copy those placeholders and use them while the messages are loading for a conversation? And of course, adjust them to kind of reflect the left and right bubble thing. Yeah, and then we're gonna add like the actual name above it. There is something about like having the actual image there as well. I do think that makes a lot of sense. You know what's fascinating? It's like me talking about like giving context to conversations. Like that's what threads are. So all these chat applications kind of are completely open, right? And then it was like, no, we need to be able to scope down to a context. And that's what threads are. But I feel like we discovered something. So this is kind of a band-aid. Like, I'm not saying this is like the horrible, terrible way to do things, but I think it's more of a band-aid instead of thinking, oh, maybe we did something wrong. Or maybe we could do it a different way. Not that we did something wrong, but we could do it in a different way. So I think what these to-dos represents is that everything's a thread. There is no channel or direct messaging. Everything's a thread. Okay, let's see how that looks. Oh, it loads pretty fast, so... Oh, did it? Let's see. Messages loading placeholder. Is it used here? Oh, did it? No, here it is. Yeah, messages is loading. Let's make this true. Let's see how it actually looks. Okay. Yeah, this doesn't need to be. Well, this is weird though, isn't it? Oh, maybe it's the color. Like it's the same color. That's probably it. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I did find, I think we're gonna use a different color for it being active. I did find this. Let's see if I can find it again. This is, by the way, incredibly confusing. Like you have UI kit here, and if you click it there, you get into Catalyst. But if I'm here and I click UI kit, it's different. It's something else. Like then you get into this stuff, and I can choose application UI, and I get into these other components. It's very confusing. Where are we going? Where did I find it? I think I had it on, was it detail screens? Yeah, this color. Because that's the hover color, and I just want like a tiny bit different. So let's Planetaria number of deploys. Maybe we can find it that way. Oh, I do have it. Oh. Oh, what did I use? Oh, look, it's there. No, where's application UI? There we go. Code number of deploys. Where's that? Probably way down here. Let me just copy it. Number of, oh, okay. Stats, dark BG gray. Does it have, yeah, let me just try adding that. So that would be when oh yeah, I think to do item has an is active. Let's just do it on the conversation first. Because this also have, yeah. Yeah, you see it's a little bit darker. That's nice. We're gonna do that. And then I think we're gonna have the same. Yeah, but I still can't see it. Placeholders. Yeah, we'll fix that. And then we're gonna use the same for active. This active. Does that work? So there's like a hover, and then it gets a little bit darker. That's nice. Cool. Let's figure out the animate BG secondary. Primary? Oh, what the hell is happening now? Oh, that's the wrong thing. Ugh. Justify and yeah, color skeleton. But shouldn't that be no. Color BG primary. No, there isn't any. That's weird. Oh, doesn't it have any height? Oh, that's the reason. No, it doesn't have any width. Oh, there we go. Okay. So the bubbles, the placeholder bubbles, doesn't seem to have any width, so I can't see them. Yeah, they're empty, exactly. Here we go. Okay, that's good enough for now. Where did I put there we go. Nice. Yeah, and this is a good example of like where you could use suspend, where you click, but it doesn't actually show or run the change until it's actually loaded the conversation. Yeah, but anyways, cool. And now, yeah, let's have that little text above. The problem is in the conversations here, we don't really have the name of the user. So the question is, do we like... Yeah, I think we should have some components that basically allows you to... Well, it doesn't need to be components. Well, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because we don't really have all the users, right? We just have these mentions. We only have the mentions. So what that means is like, if you want to find a user, you have to go through all the mentions. Yeah, it makes me think that maybe you want to have, like now we have like one array of mentions, but we could have different collections for this. You have like user mentions, issue mentions, project mentions, or we could just have them in one place and then we just kind of split them out in the client. So we kind of derive this object where we group them. So like, yeah, and we could also, yeah, this is interesting. This is the tricky part. I was exploring this, like, what if you had like a type of array that was also a dictionary? Like sometimes, I wish there probably is in some language, but JavaScript doesn't have it. Like a dictionary that acts like an array, like it is an array, but you can bind a key. So for example, the ID of each item is bound as a dynamic key on the array. So you can say like, user's user ID. That's fine. You can say 0. So the numbers are indexes, and then strings are these like dynamic lookup keys. So it just knows that this user ID, this key is bound to position 5, for example. That kind of data. I wonder if there is such a data structure. So I'm reflecting on data lookup because what I often experience building rich client-side apps is that sometimes you want an array and sometimes you want a dictionary. And now you have to kind of keep track of two different data structures. Isn't there like a data type that is an array where like you can use an index number to find a specific item? But what I would love to see is like the ability to also bind a key of each item to that same index lookup. So think about it like this. You have an array of items where each item has an ID, which is a string. And then when I do like items and I do a lookup on index 0, I get the first item, right? But I can also do items, brackets, and then pass in a string. And now it's actually gonna find the item that has the ID of that string, right? But it needs to be dynamic. So the point is like maybe you kind of sort the list and then it still needs to know how to find that item. And I don't want it to search the array. I want this to be like hard linked. Is there any such data type in JavaScript? I guess not natively, but has anyone built this, or does other languages have it? Does it even make sense? Yeah, that has always been like a pain point for me. You know, I'm gonna put on some more light in here. This because one of the most common friction points in front is normalization versus ordering. You're describing the ordered map, index dictionary, or a keyed collection. No. Holy grail of state management. This map fast keeps insertion order, slow index access. So wrap two data structures in a class. This is sound number. Oh, immutable JS. Oh, so you haven't. Okay. Native proxy system. You can actually get very close to your dream syntax. And yeah, using a proxy. I was thinking about that. Yeah, so internally you have map. Yeah, but you still. What about. Look in the map. Yeah, but then you also have to like override everything. Yeah, what's interesting here is like if I move stuff, the only thing you have to hook into is like destructive, like additions. Well, concat creates a new array, so that doesn't matter. But that's a thing, right? With concat, you have to return this super array. And then it's probably better to have an explicit abstraction. And you can still have like a 2JSON on it. So if you kind of serialize it, it's going to serialize as an array. Yeah, because the point is, so for example, for the mentions, well, that one's even trickier because, well, yeah. Well, yeah, it's interesting. So in the context of mentions, I would derive them into each of their own like super arrays. And then I can still like iterate through it. Yeah, the question is more like would it be just a proxy? But then you wouldn't know that it's like a yeah, keyed collection is exactly this. Linked hash map. Oh, linked hash map. Yeah, I wonder why we don't have this. Storing references twice. Array plus map pen. Or the normalized state pattern found in read to. Yeah, now I'm getting like it's insane. Like I'm not even talking about the app itself. I'm like getting deep into like state management. This is the problem when I code things myself. Like I realized this is what's been blocking me from actually creating projects. It's that I get stuck in irrelevant details for the project, but things that like fascinate me. So this is why Divergent to-dos is like a production ready app now. It's because I vibe coded the whole thing and I didn't get stuck in the details. I was only thinking product. And I think that's a superpower as an engineer. That's really what defines a founder. It's that they're actually able to not care about the implementation. They're only concerned about getting things on the screen. And that's, yeah, I think that is the source of it. And I struggle a lot with that. Yeah, that's so interesting. Anyways, so I'm also thinking about Rask here. I think Rask, yeah. So since Rask is this like client side thing, I think it should have a concept of yeah, it should have a concept of like a keyed collection. Sorry, I'm thinking about this. Yeah, but it's weird. Like I think the thing I'm struggling the most with is like you don't have classes. Like you wouldn't put a map into your state, right? So putting a new keyed collection into your state just doesn't feel right. So I think the proxy way of doing it makes more sense. The only thing is that if you like use concat, you have to make sure that you return an actual proxy. If you use sort, you have to return. Well, no, that sorts in place, so that's fine. But things like map, for example, like, or maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe you just want the thing. And then, like, how much do you save doing this? Like, what if you have something like use keyed collection, right? You pass it an array, and then you have this super array. But that means that when you do that, it needs to like build up that initial collection. Yeah, but you can create. Though, how would you? Okay, so let's take a look at this super array, like using a proxy. I think that's most appealing in like a functional UI land, because you don't really want to work with classes in state management. But one thing I'm wondering is, well, it can be a class under the hood. Maybe? Okay, no, it's not a class. It's a proxy, okay? But what I'm wondering is, like, you have to have a map inside that proxy. And what if you have like 1,000 items and then you initialize this keyed collection? One thing is like you're passing it this array with 1,000 items, and that becomes the array wrapped by the proxy. But also it needs to put all these items into a map. Like, isn't that expensive, or is that not expensive? And how would you like efficiently do that? I can't believe this stream is about keyed collections. What is interesting though is like in the use sync collection, for example, what we are doing there is that we have, let's see. So we have, use sync query. So this has data here, right? So this could be different. This could be, we wouldn't have data here. We would rather do like use keyed collection. And then that's where we would like push everything. You see, we're just pushing and splicing on it. Fraction of a millisecond. Okay. Yeah. So I actually think this makes sense. So you would kind of like do. So what's special here is that we're iterating these snapshots or these changes, and then we're kind of pushing into the array. In other contexts, you would just have an array, but still, yeah, but you would still push them, right? Yeah. Okay, let's see what it actually. If you want to be as, you can make the map lazy. Don't build a map when you create the array. Build the first item. Build it the first time someone asks for. Oh. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's not true for Rask, so that's fine. Yeah, that's interesting. Like you can lazily do it. Yeah, I wonder about this in the context of Rask. So you have use state. Oh, I'm stuck on this. I can't believe this. Yeah, but I like the fact that it's lazy. It's interesting. Well, we don't have to put it into Rask. We can just put it in here for now. We can call it like use keyed collection. Use key collection. And this is gonna return. The thing is that it needs to be reactive as well. So it's a proxy wrapping proxy, which is but I'm kind of, this is what I'm wondering about. Like with in the context of Rask, like should we just make all the arrays keyed collections? Because this is what I'm talking about. This is something you really need for state management. Like you always need this. And why can't it just work? So what if arrays, what if you just use state and then any array that's in there becomes a keyed collection. So that means that if you use a string, it's going to try to find an item and store it in a map. And then it will also, yeah, but that's the tricky thing. I think that's the most tricky thing. Okay, this is very interesting. So, like, I'm thinking about this in the context of like this UI library I'm using, which isn't immutable, it's mutable. And it has like a use state hook, which is an object, which is like a reactive object, using a proxy to do like property access and observation and all of this stuff. And I'm thinking about just making the arrays in use state a keyed collection by doing this lazy map approach you suggested, which is brilliant. Now, the last thing I'm worried about is like, as you also mentioned, like keeping things in sync. So one thing is like there are limits to, well, I guess the thing I'm worried about is splice, right? Because splice is is like you can delete things, but you delete by index, and then you can also add things using splice, right? Um, and the thing is like if you actually use things like, yeah, and then it's the question like what if you use these other operations like slice or concat, should that then return, yeah, well, I guess that's a question now. Even like if I concat, should that array become like an observable array? uh Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Okay, that was a lot of stuff. What do you think about this? Please help me out. Morning, Adam. I'm stuck in. I figured out why I never built. I've never built a product before. It's because I get stuck in the details. Like I can't help myself. And that's why the Divergent to-dos thing actually became a product, is because I didn't care about the details, because I was vibe coding the whole thing. And still am. And this is like first-hand observation, is like Yves, one of the founders of Code Sandbox, he's like a founder engineer, and his superpower is that he's like vibe coding manually. He has his ability to not care about, like, he's a brilliant engineer, but he has his ability to like don't get stuck in the details. He's so pragmatic when he's coding, and he's so product focused, and he doesn't spend a second thought on anything. He just runs with his first thought, and any time he reconsiders something is if he actually gets stuck. And he doesn't feel dirty about like bad abstractions or anything. He just pushes through, which is what you have, that mindset you have to have as a founder if you're going to build something, or if you actually want to create a project. It's fascinating. I don't have that ability. Anyways, if you try to manually patch the map every time, you will introduce bugs. Yeah, index shifting, deleted items, and the dirty cache, lazy invalidation. Don't think. Yeah, that's also a factor. And that's why you want to ship earlier, right? Don't wait for the perfect moment. Just ship it. What is this dirty cache? Instead of trying to surgically update the map when splice happens, we simply nuke the map. I'm starting to like Gemini more and more, especially for programming. It has like this, I don't know, it has this way of expressing things. If you ask for an ID, we check if the map exists. If yes, return value. If no, build map. Right? If you call splice, push, pop, or set an index, we perform the operation on the RAID and then set, lookup map null. This guarantees 100% correctness with zero complex. Yeah, the next time you ask for an ID, the map rebuilds instantly from the current authoritative state of the array. Interesting. So we just recreate the map whenever we change it. That's actually kind of nice. But you do know, like unshift, shift, pop, push, all of these. Yeah, I want to question that. But is it that complex? Like, if you do push, shift, unshift, sort, well, those are mutation that changes the actual array, but they change at specific positions. So it's easy to like pick up, this is the item, and then delete it from the map, right? And then for reverse and sort, you don't care about that. Like, you don't care about order in the map, right? So those don't matter. The only thing that's complex is the splice, right? Because there you have to know what's being removed and what's being added. And that's doable, right? Yeah. Oh, it returns the deleted items. Oh. Ah, create a surgical array. That's amazing. Um, okay, so I think I want to try to implement this into Rask. So any arrays you have in your state, that's going to be something you can, and if those items have, like, you can, like, it has absolutely no cost to do that because it's already a proxy. And the only thing we do is that we add like a lookup map. And then if you perform, yeah, if you perform like a index lookup using a string, that's something you typically don't do on an array, right? But we allow you to do that. And if you do that, we are going to see if we have the map. If we don't have the map, we create the map and we check if we have the item. If we don't have the item, we search and put the item into the map. So the reason this is important is because of reconciliation, right? Because you're going to be looking up stuff a lot. Yeah, I think this makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's see if we can try this. Okay, let's put another one here. The Rask git status. Oh, what is this change? What did I change? Oh yeah, assign ref. That's a nice one, by the way. It's a new one, Adam. Assign ref. Okay, let's see if we can do this. Oh, look at this. Marketplace. Interesting. So I've been reflecting on something. I want to implement So I've been thinking. I want to implement some additional functionality to arrays in use state. So basically, arrays are gonna allow you to look up keys using a string. So normally you look up keys using a number, right, to find the index of and get the item. But we're gonna allow you to use a string. And if you use a string, we're gonna check if we have initialized a map, a lookup map. And if we haven't, we're gonna initialize that lookup map. And then we're gonna check if that map has that key in it. And if it doesn't, we're gonna search through the array, like iterate the array, and find an item that has the ID of that string. And if it does, we're gonna add that to the map, and then we are going to return it. So it's kind of like a lazy keyed collection. Now, the thing we have to make sure of is that whenever you mutate the array, like you're doing shift, whenever you delete things. So that would be like shift, unshift, pop. Sorry, not unshift. I mean shift, pop, and splice. We need to know what's been deleted from the array so we can remove it from the map. And that's basically it. Don't implement anything, just summarize what I said. Look at the use state implementation and reason about how you would go about this. from the race. This is really interesting though. And then the question is like, how do you know that you can do this? Like, it would look quite magical. That's the biggest problem I have with this. It's that it's freaking magical. What we can do though is TypeScript playground. Like, we can type it. Well, can we? No, we can't type it. Yeah. Why are you complaining? Okay. String. Yeah, it's interesting how you can just index. Oh, interesting. Oh, that's another thing. Okay, but then we have another thing, which is typing. I see in the TypeScript playground that if I don't use wait, let's check first. Yeah. But is that treated sorry, if I do var? No. Yeah, okay, so that's the thing. So one thing I noticed in the TypeScript playground is that if I don't use like, if I'm going to use a string to index like an array, if I don't use like numbers in the string, TypeScript is going to complain. And I guess maybe this is the biggest hurdle, is that we can't really do this, right? From a typing perspective. Yeah, so this is like any collection you have of data, you want to be able to iterate it and you want to be able to do a lookup. And the way we do this now is that you either convert the array into an object and then you feel bad iterating it later because you need it to be an array, or you feel bad doing a lookup because every time you just want to display a name based on an ID, you have to search through the whole array to find that item. But there are data structures that does this, like linked lists or whatever, or linked hash map, or like keyed collection. Like, you have data types for this, but there's nothing native. So that you can have like an array that you can iterate normally, but you can also look up a key. So for example, if any object in that array has an ID, you can just bracket look it up directly. The cowboy cast. This is a single with this pattern. The TypeScript compiler is strict about indexing. But this makes me think that we should have use but I don't want to wrap a proxy in a proxy. Well, maybe we don't have to. So we could have something like use keyed collection. It shouldn't be named that, but that's the thing. Like, it's use keyed collection. So what you could do is you could take an array and you can just wrap it in use keyed collection. And now you have something that is typed correctly. And you're explicit about, I want to do this lazy like key lookup. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense because it's a very much a component hook, right? Yeah, so use keyed, okay. but we already have a proxy for that array. So, but what we can do is that we can like go under the hood and we can the thing is that we want it to be reactive. Yeah, because that's also a question like, do you just. Yeah, because it's a presentation kind of thing. So you could definitely also. Yeah, just make it like an API. Yeah, it's just a lazy map, right? That's all it is. And the thing, like, okay, the thing that makes it a little bit tricky is, okay, let's change this. Let's change the perspective. Okay, so I've been thinking, I want to change the perspective here. So I want my use state to still be just having arrays, which has the proxy feature of observability and everything. But then I want to do this other hook, like use keyed collection or something, where you kind of pass in the array, but it's going to observe that array. So when you put that array in, you're going to get back an API for like fetching things based on ID and but you still have like map and all of these things. My point being that the way this this map is going to be able to identify if things have been removed is based on observability. So what I'm wondering here is, what if it just knows that yeah, so you had a strategy of nuking. What if you have this array you pass in, you are observing that array, so whenever the length changes, which means that something's been added or removed, we can even, yeah, well, that's not true. We can't just check the length. We have to know. Oh, no, that won't work. Because you can both add and remove at the same time, which means it has the same length. But still, we can look at the length, because even if the length is the same, it's going to trigger observation because you made a change to the array. I think. Oh, fuck. How do you do that? Oh. Yeah, the nice thing about like using a hook is that you can also name the key, right? That you wanted to do the yeah, and you don't even have to do the callback. You can just use you can just pass the string ID, for example. I like that. But the thing is, how do we keep that map up to date? Because you don't want to. The idea here is that this is like a read only thing, right? This is just a projection, it's a derived thing. So how do we keep that map up to date? Yeah, you're getting old, Adam. Sorry. Yeah, so the only thing I'm curious about is if I observe the length of the array, will it trigger if I remove and add an item? Because then the length is the same. It didn't change the length. And I can't observe push and pop and I am. uh, yeah, I can't observe push and pop. Like I can inspect the array. Maybe this is a use case for inspect. We can inspect and know about everything that actually happened to the array. It's a very interesting use case for inspect. But let's ask it that first. Clear. Wait, what's happening? Is it clearing? That's weird. So I'm thinking about how we have this use state hook and we have arrays in there. If I wanna Oh, okay. Yeah. So the way arrays work now is that if you're in a component, right? When you look at an array, you don't just look at the array, right? You are iterating all the items of the array. So you're accessing you're basically observing every index in that array. So that's why even if the array doesn't change length, when it changes the indexes, that's going to trigger the array. But maybe there's something to this. Oh, wait a minute. I like this. Okay, this is actually just going to work because initially you haven't like peeked into anything, right? Well, maybe you have actually looked at the full array. Or maybe you haven't. That's the point. But if you do peek into it, like doing a lookup, that's going to trigger observation. Well, I guess that's the point. Like you have to... Yeah, that is going to trigger observation. Because you're looking into that array during rendering. That's the whole point. So there is an observer there. And that's going to trigger the render. Again, it's going to try to... Yeah, but it doesn't... No, that doesn't work. Yeah, I'm not sure if we can do this unless we do inspect. Yeah. Well, okay, so what if it isn't lazy? Okay, let's take it the other way. Let's not make it lazy. Let's make it eager. So what's going to happen then is that it will iterate the array when you use the hook to create the map. And then whenever... Yeah, and that's an observer. And then whenever anything changes with that array, it's going to run that observer again and update. But that doesn't make sense. Yeah, this is much more tricky than I thought. Maybe it would have to be we would have to reach into the array. Basically, there's like a special symbol on that array that allows you to, well, that is basically inspect. Yeah, maybe we should just use inspect. How does inspect work? I can't remember. So, yeah. Yeah, and it has path. So you have mutation, you have the path. So what we could do is just inspect the array inside the hook, and then whenever we have a mutation, we know which index it's on. But what about if you delete? How does that work? Yeah, I guess it's undefined or something. Yeah, and then if it's undefined, it's considered a removal. Yeah, and also if the path is just the index, that's the point. That's when it's added and removed. I wonder if this is actually working though. Okay, I'm gonna ask. So in this library, we have an inspect utility. Could you verify if I inspect an array that I will get a mutation event on any mutation on that array, like adding items, removing items? If items are removed, will I then get an undefined value? Like, how would this work? So the thing is, like, it's very natural to get an array from the server. Like, that's the most like natural data type for like lists of data. So I feel like this lookup thing is like something you add to more efficiently be able to, like, you don't have to manually create a map, and also keep that in sync. So you can just say, I have this array, just give me the ability to look up based on ID or whatever. Because I need that in my UI, and I need it to be efficient. That's why we're doing this, because there's a lot of reconciliation happening, and you don't want to look through 1,000 items for every little. Like, imagine the chat bubbles, right? You might have 15 bubbles with your name, and you don't want to iterate every time that the new message comes in. It reconciles the full set of messages, and for every message that has a user, it needs to go through 1,000 items to find the name of that user, because you only have the user ID. So that's what we're doing here. It's like we're making that efficient. Let's see. Based on my here's how array mutation. Yes, when is all mutation will trigger mutation. Here's what happens. Each month will fire mutation event. Using the room that's gone, you get a mutation with a new length. Get a mutation event with a new length using. Oh, length change. Does not send an inspect event. This might be a limitation. Yeah, exactly. Oh, delete? Oh yeah, no, that's fine. You get a new value in mutation event. But yeah, but what if I'm inspecting an array and I do a pop? What kind of event do I get, and what's the value? Yeah, so the point is that you just want to lazily. Well, I guess that's a question. Do you want to lazily do this, or do you want to eagerly do this? It is a bit janky if you want to do this lazily, I think. From a UI perspective, you often want to, like, when you have this kind of lookup, you might do multiple lookups, right? You might have a table with a bunch of different lookups, and that's gonna, like, now you're gonna iterate a list like many times the first time. Yeah, exactly. Array to dictionary. Yeah, and that's what we're doing. It's array to dictionary. It's just the dictionary is like reactively kept up to date. But yeah, so what if it's eager? And then we still inspect. Like, that's two different things. One thing is keeping it up to date. Another thing is if it's going to be eager or lazy. I think it should be eager, because then it's like you take the hit one time. And then it's just kept up to date in the background. Okay, so let's conclude. It should be eager, which means when you use keyed collection or whatever, pass in the array, you pass the key, which can default to ID. Or maybe it should be explicit. Wait. Oh, interesting. I really like this though. That it like writes tests and stuff to validate things. But anyways, so we just have to make sure that whenever we add or delete something from that array, we need to keep that map in sync. And a very simple way to do that is using inspect. That's what it's designed for, really. So yeah, I think this makes sense. I just want to know if the inspect actually handles this. But I think we can rather yeah, drop this. Let's just go in. Let's just implement it and write a test for it and see if it works. Why isn't clear working anymore? This is so weird. So I have an idea for a new hook. For now, we can call it use keyed collection, and it's going to take an array, and the second argument is going to be, so the items in this array needs to be an object. So the generic here needs to extend an object, and then the second argument is going to be a key in that object. And the whole point here is that we're going to return the ability to do what should it return? Like the only thing you want is to what's the best? I guess it can return a function. Yeah, I think it should return a function. Like the only thing it should do is like do a lookup. It shouldn't do anything else. You shouldn't mutate anything like you do that on the original array, right? Okay. So we're going to implement a new hook. Let's just call it use keyed collection for now. Or no. So so we are going to implement a new hook. It's going to be called use lookup. And it's going to take a generic, and that generic needs to extend an object. And the first argument needs to be an array of this generic. And then the second argument is going to be a key from this generic object. The hook is going to return a function, which is going to be the lookup function. And when we use this function, we're going to be able to pass in like a key, and then it's internally going to do a lookup for this. The way this is going to work is that in the implementation, we are going to use the inspect utility to inspect the array. And then we're going to eagerly take the current state of the array, and we're going to shove that into a map and use that lookup key as the key in the map. But as we are inspecting this array and we get mutations, we're going to keep them. We're going to keep that map up to date. Okay, does that make sense? Please summarize your thinking here, read some files, whatever you need, and then I'll let you know when we're ready to implement. You know what? Let's just implement it for fuck's sake. Let's see. Oh. What do we call it? Use lookup. Export function, use lookup. Extend subject. Let me zoom in a little bit here. That was a bit too much. So this is going to be array t, and then key is going to be key of t. And then we're going to create a map, new map, which is going to be, yeah, I guess u extends key of t, ut, cool. And then how do I efficiently, yeah, there's an iterable here. Didn't we get some help from Gemini on this? You said something, Gemini, about efficiently setting the initial value. What did you say? What did you say? Huh. I guess like there's an iterable, like you can pass in. How do you, for fuck's sake, how do I instantiate a map with an array? Yeah, you need key value. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, easy peasy. Sorry. So that will be array map item key item. Why are you complaining? Ugh. I hate this. Why is this failing? I know we can ignore it, but it bothers me. Key. What would this be? TU? Map get key. Oh, why are you? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's the key. Sorry. So this would be TU. Oh, there we go. Thank God. Yeah, and then what we need to do is inspect array. And I think inspect returns. Oh, doesn't it return? Oh, it needs to return or won't this be inspector callback? Yeah. Won't this be a memory leak? Hmm. So currently our inspect utility doesn't have a disposer. Wait a minute. Oh. So what actually happens? It's inspect mark current notify. I think if like the component and everything is the problem here is that this hook might be unmounted. Yeah, it needs a disposer. Let's see. Let's change inspector callback. Inspect marker. Ah, fuck. Fuck. So this wasn't really designed for this. Like, you don't have like multiple notifiers or anything like that. Fuck. This sucks. I have to refactor inspect to be like a subscription-based thing, like a multiple subscription-based thing with disposers and... Well, just wish there was a simpler way to do this. Like, it could have an observer, and it would actually observe the whole array. So if anything changed, it would run the observer again. The question is, what should happen when that observer runs? Because we don't know what happened. We just know that something changed. And we don't want to run the whole map again. But maybe that's fine. Because you can also do maybe this is fine. Okay, let's take a look at this. So we're gonna have observer, new observer. And what we're gonna do here is map. Can I like refresh it? I guess it's easier to just like, what does set do? That's just a single. Yeah, we kind of have to recreate the map. Okay, let's do let. Sorry. So we have that map. Oh, what the hell did I do? What is this? There we go. We have that map, and then we're gonna say new map. And then whenever we're just gonna update it, new map. And then we're gonna say observer dot observe, dispose observer, then dispose observer. Yeah, sorry. And so this is gonna be function update map. So this is just going to be update map. And then we're just going to say update map. Oh, sorry. Oh my God. Where's the observer? Yeah. So we have update map. Okay. So what we're doing here is we have this use lookup, and we're eagerly just putting everything from the array into that thing. And then we create an observer. Yeah, by the way, use cleanup observer dot dispose. And then we update that map by starting an observation. We spread all the items in, which means that we're now observing this array for any changes. And then we dispose that observer, not dispose observe. And then whenever this updates, and the thing is, like, all this automatically handles itself. Like, we have this like batched update, so you can do a lot of changes to this array, and this won't trigger until all of them are done. This is basically a derived. But yeah, now you have a lookup, and the cost of that lookup is whenever the array changes. And this is the thing, right? These kinds of things rarely update. Like these big lists. So like an optimization here is to know exactly what changed, but we can fix that later. Yeah, let's try this. So I just added a new hook called use lookup. Could you, well, first of all, I forgot to export it. Could you export it from the index file? and then write a test for it. And make sure that like any kind of mutations made on the original array, so this should be like a useState array, any mutations made on that array will actually make the lookup sync up and be correct. It will actually update on any change. So if you shift, unshift, splice, now it's even gonna trigger on sort, which is not ideal. But I'm thinking that's fine for an initial implementation to test it. So yeah, like just any change to the array itself, like not the items in the array, but the list itself. It's going to trigger a refresh of the map. And then we can refactor the inspect to be more of a subscription based, like take multiple subscriptions. So it's more efficient, but I don't think it really matters, especially for this case. Like the mentions array, like doesn't really update that much. It would be like whenever an issue is created, a user is signing in for the first time, a project is created or removed. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is I think this is a node issue. I'm always stuck on the wrong version. Like I wanna have MVM. How do I set my default node version? I'm using NVM, but it seems like every time I like alias default or whatever, it doesn't actually honor that. I want node 22 to be my default node version. Oh, isn't it PMPM? It is. Remove that. What's happening here? Oh. Oh. It didn't write the tests correctly. Oh. So I fixed the tests running. It was the wrong node version, but the tests are failing because you didn't implement use lookup inside inside components. So you have to look at some other test file. Like you have to create actual components because you can only use hooks inside components. Alias default. That's weird. Weird. Oh my god. And the thing I'm working towards is like demoing this to a couple of friends. And here I am creating a use lookup hook Like, this thing is never gonna get done with my brain. It's so annoying. But I don't like this kind of product can't be vibe coded. I have to own all the code. So I have no idea how I'm gonna manage this. It's really annoying. Yeah, let's look at the bubbles. I want to have a different color. I think I just want to have the same color. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, it's not wasted. That's true. I just wish I had. I want to have. I think I want to have my own company and work with people and build stuff where I can like be involved in like design, but I don't have to do everything myself. Yeah. There's like too much going up in here. Like I'm so limited by being a single individual, I feel like. Let's see. Oh yeah, it's the test. What was I checking? Hmm. Okay, let's see now. Oh, now more failed. 20 failed. Look up. Okay, let's do one of them. Yeah, by the way, PMPM test, use lookup. I just want to test that one. Wait, that one worked. Okay, which one didn't work? Expected not found. Should handle lookup in nested component. Props.items. Okay, interesting. Bob not found. Oh, Oh, interesting. Interesting. So is this enough? Yeah, this should be enough. Yeah. That's weird. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I know what the problem is. I know what the problem is. So use lookup can't. Oh, this is so interesting. So use lookup can't use the map here. So basically, what this is going to be. Oh, interesting. So this needs to be the actual index. So this would be number, and the reason it needs to be the index is because we need to. Let's see, array. Where are you? Array Yeah, or -1. Well, I can't do that. And the reason is we have to, it needs to be observable, right? So we have to actually look up inside the array so that when we look at this index and that index changes, it's going to trigger the observation. But it didn't help though. That's weird. So if I look at, yeah, we need to check that as well. Maybe this is an issue. Let me just look at what's happening here. Console.log key map.get key. Oh, undefined. Why is it undefined? I just pushed into it. Right? And why are all those other ones showing? That's annoying. Oh, look at this. We had duplicate tests. That's why. Okay, cool. Now I only see one of them. So it's undefined? How can it be undefined? Oh, was it 2? Skip. Oh, only. So what did it do? It said lookup 2. Oh, because that's the ID. Yeah. ID 2. That should have triggered. I do wonder though if this. Yeah, no, that should be fine. Let's see here. The thing I'm wondering is like, why is this undefined? Because it should have triggered. Well, that's the question. Like, did it should queue? Wait, what does use derive do? That's false. I think this needs to be false. Oh, that didn't help. Why is it undefined? Console.log updating map. Yes, that's the first. Oh, yeah, look at this. This is where it's updating the actual map. Fuck. But it should be. So computed will actually update before. I am confused. Why isn't this firing before the render? Render child. Yeah. Well, this is the first. Oh, wait a minute. This is not the problem. The problem is that it doesn't render a second time. Because this is correct, right? It is undefined on the first one. And then it's updating the map by doing a push. Oh, wait a minute. It's because I'm not looking at. Okay, wait a minute. We need to look at the length. No, but we're using map. Wait, did it use state? What the fuck? I'm so confused by this. Why doesn't it trigger? You see that? Updating map? No, it is triggering. But why doesn't it render again? Okay, that's the issue. So, sorry. So I think the issue here, we might have a bug, which is a different bug, which is that this thing is looking at an index that doesn't exist. So in our, okay, I'm gonna ask. So I'm curious, in our useState hook, when we have an array, and if I were to look at an index that doesn't exist yet, and then it gets populated, will this still trigger an observation? Like, will this still trigger as a change? Or does it only do that when there's an actual value in the index I'm looking at? Because the thing is, like, we're looking at... oh, wait, no. No, yeah, that's not the problem. Well, it's related. So the point is, like, we're looking at undefined here, right? That's the problem. We're looking at undefined. Oh, this is so fascinating. Yeah. So this is like literally array undefined. So maybe... So maybe if... Wait, this doesn't make any sense. Or does it? Well, I guess it does. Well, how should this work? So if I do a lookup and it doesn't have a hit, like, how would this work in a component? Like, if I were to do like just out of bounds check. Yeah, let's ask it. I wonder if this is the issue. So right. Yeah, a signal is still created for that key. Yeah, but this is when I actually try to access the index, right? And that's not what... Yeah, this is super tricky. What does this even mean? Because we aren't accessing an index that's later going to be populated. How do we make sure... Oh, this is so tricky. How do we make sure... It's almost like every key needs its own signal. Yeah, this is way, way, way harder than I thought it would be. So, like, conceptually, what it needs is like every key we try to look up needs to have its own. It's almost like if it's undefined. Oh, wait a minute. I know what we can do. Okay, so so we have index would be like this. This will be index. And then if index equals undefined, well, not equals undefined, we can just return it. Return undefined or return. So the point is, if it can't find it, what we need to do is we need to keep track of signals. Undefined lookups. Oh, this is interesting. So this will be a record of string signal. The problem is that whenever we do this and we have undefined lookups, well, I guess since we're iterating anyways, we can actually find it. Yeah. Oh, this is so interesting. Yeah, this is an interesting problem. And we can fix this. So undefined lookups. I'm just thinking how to most efficiently do this. So now it's a number. I'm just thinking, would you ever... Currently, you can technically, the key can be something else than a string. So it's not really safe. So this needs to be a map in and of itself. But this is like edge case, right? Typically, you look up something you have. Yeah, new map. So this would be, what is it? TU signal. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, though it needs to be a map because it can be... Like, it's so weird to look up something. But technically, this is most correct, I think, because the key can be any value. So we need to use a map. But yeah, so if it's not undefined, we just return it. But if it is undefined, we're going to say undefined lookups, set key, new signal. Yeah, and then we have to check. Let's see. Const signal equals. Yeah, this one's very interesting. Get current observer, subscribe signal. Okay, and then as we are iterating here, if undefined lookups get item key, well, I guess we kind of just have to do this. Yeah, but I don't think we should even instantiate this. Map or undefined. This is so tricky. Basically, we would have to like flag. This is. I don't like this. No, I don't like this. Like, we can brute force this, but it doesn't feel right. So what I think would work though. um, yeah, like if we didn't use a map. Yeah, they have like this, like almost like an abstraction over the values. Like they just have like a reactive graph, like dipping into underlying values. It doesn't matter if it's there or not. Oh, but this is icky. Why is this so hard? I have a feeling we're doing something. So what we can do is we can change this to not be a map. It can rather be it can just be an object. Yeah, so one way to fix this is to not have that map. Let's see. So we're gonna use state, and then we're gonna have the map in there. Lookup. Yeah, or we can even have this could be the lookup. Yeah. So it's an empty object. And what we're going to do is we're still going to go through everything. For, no, because we need to replace it because we might remove something. Sorry. So it needs to be lookup. And then we're just going to say state.lookup. Yeah. But state.lookup here needs to be, yeah, we need to reduce. We need to auger. So what's gonna happen now is, yeah, it doesn't have to be the index anymore. It can actually be the item. So we should be able to say auger item.id, oh sorry, item key equals item return other. Can I please? There we go. Yeah, this is such a classic. Has any? No. So what we're doing is that we're just having this lookup array, lookup map, which means that you can only use like string, which is key of object is string or number, so that's fine. And then we don't need this undefined lookups thing. We're just iterating the array, producing, basically it's your to dictionary. And then we just look into it. We don't have to do any of this. We just do return state.lookup key. Yeah, whatever. T or undefined. Undefined. There we go. Yeah, this is better. I'm gonna ask Gemini though. So if I'm using, so I tried using a map, but I had some issues with observation. Is there like a performance hit on using just a plain object instead of using a map? And basically what I'm doing now, instead of doing like new map and kind of put the array entries in there, I rather just reduce over the array and create a plain object. Yeah. One failed. Oh, we don't need that. Did I have a timeout? Which one is failing? Should when array reference is replaced. Oh, interesting. Oh, this is another thing. So this requires maybe it needs to be a function. So this is just because we pass in like just an array, but we might wanna need to do this, so that we always have like the we always have the latest value. But then we need to update the. I think this makes sense because it derives from it is a derived, and all the other derived are functions. It is interesting though. Like if this array changes a lot, that's the beauty of this, is because it's not immutable. It's mutable. So the items in the array can change as much as they want. It doesn't matter. But I do wonder, like we are iterating everything in here. Yeah, but even if I do look up, if I do it lazily, like if you look at something here, then it's gonna iterate through it and it's gonna like register I'm looking at all of this stuff. Yeah, I think the thing I'm kind of not concerned, but what I'm thinking about is how how we're basically creating. So if you do that use lookup, you're going to have a signal per item in that list. But if we were to do it lazily, you would only have signals for the stuff you actually access, because the proxy itself is lazy. So that's the thing that doesn't feel that great here. But it is like still like you're kind of iterating all the items as if you were displaying it in the UI. Yeah, it's a map of pointers. Yeah. It's just that when we iterate the array, we're creating a signal for everything. But it's incredibly cheap though. Yeah, no, I don't think we need to worry about that. So we're gonna see if we can trick this thing. Boop. Kablam. Okay, but I think this is pretty nice. So whenever you want to have the ability to look up something, you can use the use lookup hook. You can give it an array and a property you want to look up, and then you can do that lookup basically. And in the background, that lookup will only update if there is an actual change to the items, like the actual array. Like if something's added, removed. Currently, if anything changes positions, which doesn't really matter for the lookup, but that's where optimizations can be made. But how often do you like even do that? So yeah, okay, let's ship it. So I just added a new hook called use lookup. Could you please add this to the documentation? Oh, did I move too fast? Yeah, that would be other hooks. I wonder where I put it. All right, so I just added a new hook called use lookup. Could you please add this to the other hooks section in the documentation? Yeah, that's it. Thanks. Make sure that you also document that this lookup will only update when the actual structure of the array changes, not when changes are made to items in the array. Oh, that's where I put it. Oh, look at that. Nice. Oh. Okay, but I'm happy about this. By the way, I want to show you the ref thing. Use ref. So use ref is now like a reference, right? Typically you use it with an input, but a ref can also be something else, right? We use it for many different things. So what I did is I added on a sign ref. So basically the way this works is that you can just pass a reference to a nested component. So you don't call it ref, of course, because the ref is like handled by, like that's a native key. But if you call it input ref, for example, you can then go in and just do, yeah, in this case, it's still an element. Like you have setup input. I guess you could just assign ref. Can I just use the input ref here? I'm not sure why I did this. This is a weird example. Yeah, this doesn't make any sense. Here you could just pass the ref down. Yeah, this is a weird example. Oh, that's a super weird example. The point is, yeah, such a bad example. It should fix that as well. Okay, I also noticed something weird in the use ref documentation. Like it shows an example where it passes like a use ref for an element down to a nested component, and then it uses a function to manually assign the ref. That doesn't make any sense because you could just pass the ref directly down to the element in the child. What this assign ref is for is like if you have a component that exposes an API and you want the parent component to be able to use that API. So you can create a use ref that has the type of the nested child API, and then you pass that ref down, and then the nested component can assign ref and the API, basically the value to that ref. That's where it's useful. Okay, I've been streaming for way too long. It's a little bit quiet now, just before Christmas, so yeah, I wonder why React has forward ref. Like if you want to pass a ref down to a component, why don't just call it like whatever ref as a prop? Or yeah, I guess it's because if you do use ref, yeah, it's still weird to me. Yeah, I'm not sure. I wonder if it's because like if you use the ref key, you get this special forward ref inside the component, which allows you to like, okay, no, don't use this component as the ref. Let me tell you where this ref should go, kind of. Yeah, but still, yeah. It's a lot of mental overhead. Cool. Okay. Git status. Git status. Git add lookup and update assign ref docs. Oh, git. We need to bump. Where is it? Core. Guess this is 27 now. Bump it. And then pm build. Publish. Wolfie 791176. No. What happened? Oh, and I have to do npm login every time now. That's so annoying. Why do I have to do that? I thought this would store stuff. Oh. If you wonder, that was the first letter in my password. pm. Oh, I guess we want to go to apps or packages app. React UI latest. No, React. Rask UI latest. I hate that it doesn't show you the version it actually added. It's really annoying. You would imagine that is like the basic thing you should do. Like, done adding what? Yeah, 27. Okay, so what we would do here is just to... Oh, did I forget the camera? Oh, look at that. I didn't have to do the bumpy thing. Let's see. So what I would have to do here is... I think I would put this into the context. So we have a data context. And here we have... this is where we sync dimensions. So here we have them. This is the data. So we are deriving... Yeah, and this is where we kind of do our search. We search through all dimensions. But then I think we should have a lookup per... Sorry, there's a lot of processing with these mentions. But what we would do is we would go through it and then build up. Yeah, and maybe we would even do it here. So mentions here would be a reduce into, like we would group it. So you would have like users, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and maybe... Yeah. This is interesting. Like, how would I... But this is what I like. It's derived. So Yeah, so I guess what we could do here is like, as an example, look up user mention. So that would be use lookup. Yeah, I guess we have to restart. So we could do derive.mentions, and we could just filter on mention.type equals user, and then here we can then do user ID. This is really cool. Yeah, now we can just add this, right? Huh. That's actually really cool. And then whenever dimensions change, it's going to trigger all the lookups though. And each of them are going to look through dimensions to rebuild. Which means that it would be better to kind of do that once here. So we would rather reduce. Yeah, so I think we're going to do that instead. Let's see. But it's still cool. Like I feel like we have really, really nice primitives here. So this would be users. Let's see. So basically, yeah, I guess we can just say you. Users. Yeah, and then we need. Okay, let's see. Base mention, export type, user mention, base mention, and export type mention. But it makes me think that we should have different collections for this as well. User mention. And let's just shared pm build. So this will be user mention. Why is the agger? The agger here shouldn't be. Yeah. This is weird. There's something really weird going on here. There we go. That's interesting. Push mention. So we only really have users now, but that's going to change. So basically, whenever we get an update to the data here, we're reducing over it and kind of grouping it. And then here we can just do mentions users, and we don't have to do this thing. This is more efficient. But even more efficient is if we have a user mentions and issue mentions collections in Firebase. So maybe we should refactor that. Yeah. But still, it's like rarely they update. But yeah, something to consider. But this is pretty cool. And then what I can do in the component now, in the to go back to the thing, is like when we have these messages now, we should be able to do something like, do we have data here? Wait, mentions context? What the fuck? Oh, Yeah, we should change the name of this. This is really mentions dialogue context. Mentions dialogue. Sorry about that. So what we need here is data context. So we should be able to just say, so this is the rich text. Let me just put a div in here. Let's test it. User should now just be data dot lookup user mention message dot user ID. And it should just work. Let's see. Oh. Oh, and it didn't. Oh, no context available. Oh, it's probably an error with the mentions dialogue context. Wait, was there something? Mentions dialogue context. Oh, it's calling it a palette. Wait, what didn't it have? What context? Current component, get context. What hook? What are you trying to use? Render new input. I think it was because I renamed the thing. Let's rename it again. Let's call it palette. Mentions palette context. Oh. Filtered items. Wait. Oh, data mentions users. Why is it saying no context available? It happens inside to do conversation. It's almost as if it can't find the data context. Because that's when it started happening. Which is weird, because we're injecting that all the way at the top. That is certainly very, very weird. Yeah. Why doesn't it find the data context? That's so weird. Oh, interesting. It's the actual lookup user mention. Wait, that doesn't make any sense. Why does that? Ugh. Why would that cause no context available? That doesn't make any sense at all. And like, especially calling that thing. Why does that? What if I do something else, like data dot is loading? That's fine. It's specifically calling lookup user mention. Okay, so we have some kind of weird bug here. Use lookup. How could that cause? Wait a minute. What did we do? What did we do? So use lookup, use state. Use cleanup. We're returning this function. What? None of this is using context. I am very confused. So it's like a red herring. Is that the name of it? It's specifically this function. What? So what I'm wondering here is, like, this can be like some kind of crazy thing. So it could be like, I don't know. Maybe there's like a maybe it's like some render that happens. No, but this doesn't matter. Like, the function we use here is just looking at a state object. Like, there's nothing here. It makes absolutely no sense. Oh, interesting. So even that worked. So it's because we're using a derived? Let's just do to-dos. Oh, interesting. It didn't. Oh, we have user ID there as well. Oh, wait a minute. I think I know what it is. I don't think it is. I think it's actually because we are not. Yeah, because it's an object. So if I do display name here. Oh, look at that. Oh, but it worked. It's because we put like this crazy proxy object. That's super weird error. That's such a weird error. That is such a weird... Yeah, what I also don't like about these lookups is that, well, in this specific case, you can't really know 100%. But yeah, if like sometimes you know the data is there. Like the only way you could render the conversation is if you actually had the user. But that's not really true. But this code doesn't really emphasize that. Yeah. Anyways, that's fine. Like there is a scenario where like a user has left the company, right? And you're looking at the conversation. Like what should you display? Should it still display the name or should it show like an deleted user or whatever? But yeah, that error of like shoving an object into the causing like no context. Oh, I know what's happening. There's an error. There's an error and I don't have an error boundary. Or sorry, I don't have an error boundary. So it's just running up the tree, I think. To try to find a context to handle that error. And it doesn't find it because I don't have an error boundary. Okay, to finish this off before lunch, so I just added this lookup in the to-do conversation for the name to display on each message. But I want to show that a bit nicer. Like I want that text to be a bit smaller and it shouldn't like prefix it with user colon. It should just be the name of the user in a bit smaller text. Yeah, please fix that. No, this is just oh yeah, but it is invalid. Like React does this as well, like invalid node. I believe because objects are invalid children. But yeah, there should be a better error. Like instead of saying no context, it should be at the top. It should rather be like cannot find error boundary. And it should like throw the original error, not the no context. Look at that. That's beautiful. Jill Jellybean. That's gonna stick. Okay, cool. I think I'm happy with this for now. What would be the next thing to do? So now we have conversations. I'm wondering if it's actually creating the command palette, because in that command palette, we are gonna allow you to why there was an error to put an object into a child. Like when I called lookup user mention, that returned an object and it just inserted that as a child of an element. And that's invalid. You can't use objects. it doesn't stringify it to object because it is like an error. Like you're trying to display something. I don't know if React changed this, but I thought React also threw an error there. And then inside Rask, it's like it does a catch, and then it tries to get context to find the error boundary, and then it doesn't find the error boundary, and that throws no context error. But we should really have a try catch around trying to get the context of the error boundary, and if we can't find it, it should throw the original error instead. Yeah. I think it would be fine to show like object, but it's also, yeah. Yeah, it's not a bad assumption. Yeah, original error for the win, for sure. Okay, cool. I have a session in a bit, so I have to get some lunch, but this was a interesting deep dive. And then oh yeah. So I have Jill on my other computer here. Let's see. Hi Adam. This is Jill. See that? Hi Adam, this is Jill. Yeah, so next time, yeah, and if you see here, like I can do cool, and I can do like foo and mention. So when I hit this, oh, that's interesting. Why aren't there any people here? Yeah, there should be 2 people here. But here so when you mention something, instead of like being this like inline drop down thing, I'm making it a command palette because you can mention a lot of different things, and you have these preview cards. So like, even if you're just mentioning a person, you get this and you get like the preview card of the person with more details. But you can also mention issues or projects, and you kind of get the preview card for the issue and the project, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I'm not sure why we didn't find. Oh, I think it's a bug. Yeah. I think so. If I refresh, I think they're there. It's the way I sync it. Oh, that's weird. Yeah, I'm not sure. Something to figure out. Anyways, so yeah, I think next time that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to look at the mentions palette, and we're going to bring in that preview. And we're going to look at the actual command palette, which is going to allow you to create projects and issues. And then we're going to have previews for that. They are going to create mentions, so we're going to have triggers for those. And then yeah, there's this concept of creating teams, which is going to be interesting. Which is going to be, you can mention a team to ask something, but unlike mentioning a person, where it just generates the to do for that. Did I show you how cool this is, by the way? You have to see the full demo. So let's see, let me delete and then to do's. So basically, what I'm doing here is I'm on like Jill's computer, and I'm creating a to-do here, which is check up on, and then I'm mentioning Christian Alfoni. That to-do in and of itself doesn't do anything, right? You don't know yet if this should start a conversation, but I just added a to-do. And then I click the to-do, I see the conversation, and then I say, how are you doing? Right? And what happens in the background now is that it knows that I mentioned me, and it's going to go and create a to-do for me. But this to-do is from my perspective. So we should see it. And now it will just pop up immediately. Might be a bit slow because Firebase trigger is cold. But it's from my perspective. So now, by looking at that to-do, it flipped it around. So it says, Jill would like to check up on you. And then, how are you doing? It's a really, really cool thing. And the whole point here is, like I've been ranting about, is like not having these open channels and direct messages, but every conversation is a specific context. And now I can choose to like check this. Yeah, maybe this doesn't work now. I can say I'm done with this, and then, or I can like copy this to another day. I can move it to another day. I don't want to think about this now. And this is just a context that you choose when you want to bring attention to it. And like now it just popped up, but it's actually flagged as is accepted false because it was a generated to do. So it wouldn't even pop up directly like this. It would be like you would choose when you want to bring in generated to-dos. So it's like protecting your personal space and your attention kind of thing. But yeah, I'm really happy about that. It creates this like magical feeling. Cool. That's it for now. And have a good night, Adam. We'll speak soon.